Hey Mountain Slugs, today we're going to be talking about routing your seat dropper cable. Okay, so this is my 2020 specialized fuse, 29er of course. I got a little carried away with cable management. The seat dropper cable was actually quite a bit longer just because it allows for the seat height to be raised up and down. Once I got it set, I had a lot of cable that kept drifting out the bottom. It was driving me crazy. So I tore it apart one day and I made it too short. Even though I measured everything, I didn't account for the bar turning and pulling just enough on this cable that if my seat's down, it raised it up. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that today. We've got some new tools we're gonna try to pull this cable through and the housing. So let's get after it. Okay, so this seat dropper cable and housing come over here. They come into the frame here and they actually come out down here on the right before the bottom bracket, and it comes back up into the seat tube. So what was happening is this was just almost hitting the tire. It was way too much. I ended up cutting 9 inches off the original length, but it was too much. So I'm probably going to pull this housing out, remeasure it. I'm going to add 4 inches to it. Should be perfect for the bars to turn and not actuate the seat dropper. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and adjust this barrel adjuster here so I can get the cable out. One thing I had to do was I had to move this. So it was way further out. It was a total mess up on my part, but we're gonna get that fixed today. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this lever back. And I'll just leave that like that. I'll come back to it when we get closer to getting the rest of it done. Next thing we're gonna do is take out the seat post. Okay, so I'm just gonna take the seat post out now, but I like to wipe the seat post down just because we ride in the mud and the dirt, and I don't want it falling down into the seat tube. Get that, and we'll just take this 4mm and pop this out here. Now, when we pull this out, we got to kind of feed the cable right here, through here, down around here. So usually slides pretty good. Get her to slip there, and when it comes, I just kind of feed it. And once that comes out, we can just pop that out of there like that. Now your seat post might be different, but this is more about the cable. One thing I did notice when I was doing this, I don't know if it's aluminum or if it's a little stainless set screw that's in there. So I actually ordered a new set screw. It kind of, the Allen wrench didn't want to bite it. I thought it was my Allen wrench. Turns out this kind of rounded out. I definitely didn't over torque it. Might have been from factory. I have no idea, but I'm just going to replace that set screw. So I got some nice set screws, metric set screws, and I'm just going to replace it. Hopefully it comes out. Okay. So 3mm on the back side to back it up, and then a 2. Now hopefully, oh yeah, it's coming out. So that's a good thing. So I'll spin this out. I'm going to replace this, like I said, comes off the cable. Then from there, you're pretty much free to pull everything out. And we do have a special tool from Park to pull that back in there. But I'm going to go ahead and get the set screw in this. Get my cable housing pulled out, get my cable ready, and we'll go from there. Here's the old set screw. Looks like they used some blue Loctite on it. Here's the new one. This housing is aluminum, and this is going to be a mild steel. I'm not really too worried about it rusting. I'll put a little dab of anti-seize or maybe even some thread locker on there, but this looks like it's stainless, and stainless is pretty soft, so it did round out pretty easy. Definitely don't want to be ripping down the trail and have your cable come loose. But I think the factory might have just over-tightened it, or they had an Allen wrench that was kind of wore out. So here's the new one. Should work a lot better. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and pull this plastic guide out of the frame. This is so they can route 2 cables through here and just keep them kind of held in there. It's just a plastic piece. Should pop right out here. There we go. And that'll just make this easier. I'm just going to leave this on here for now. It is split. We can split it. Let's just take it off here. Just like that. And now I want to pull this cable housing end off like that. See, that just comes off there. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull this out. Just like that. Now, I am going to keep this because it's a good piece short piece for a derailleur on another bike, not this bike because it's routed fully internally, but if I have another older style bike, I can use this for the rear half of the derailleur cable. So it's good to keep a hold of. This is Jagwire. I've got a whole new 25 feet of it. So we will pull the new one in. Okay, so one thing that I find handy is just one of these little magnetic trays. Even though it's plastic, it's just a good place to put your stuff, keep it organized. Stick it on your bike rack or the table next to you, or however you have it set up. It just kind of helps keep things together so you don't lose anything. I think I'll go with my original plan. I'm going to go backwards. I think it's going to work better. Oh, this might be a bust. You guys ever heard the term, don't fix what's not broken? That's exactly what I got going on here. I'm gonna cheat and just see if we can, there it is right there. This is gonna be the challenging part. Just getting it to come out right here. All right, there it is. Now if we can get it up. All right, there we go. There it is. That wasn't too bad. So, I mean, theory, gravity usually helps, but in this case, going backwards was the better thing to do. So you just have to do what you got to do to get it in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this housing. Sorry. I put the magnet in my pocket. And we're just going to twist this in here. Let it grab onto that housing. And it should just pull right through. I've got a big twist in this. So I'm going to feed this through. Of course, the ends aren't on the housing. Should be fairly easy to come out here. There it is. Wow, that worked great. Now, I think since the seat tube's right here, it should just run straight up. So I'm going to go ahead and just unscrew this from the housing and just see if I can just push it up through there. Okay. So I'm going to pull this housing all the way this way. Not too far, of course. And another reason to keep your seat tube clean when you push this up in here. You don't want to jam it full of a bunch of dirt and stuff, but it should just pop right out the top here. And there it is. Okay, now I'll throw the ends on, push the cable through, and start adjusting everything. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push these cables on. Always make sure when you cut your housing to use the tool to flare that out. Makes your putting your cable in a lot easier. Now I like to wait for this one just because sometimes it's not perfectly aligned, and when it comes through it likes to hang up. I'm going to push this through. Any day now. There it is. And then I'll take my cable end Put that on there, housing, sorry. Push that on, make sure it's good and seated, because this is going to seat up against the part for the seat dropper. So you want to try to get all that slack out of there you can. And it feels good. Okay, so I got it in there. It was a little long. One thing I forgot to tell you is go ahead and adjust this barrel adjuster out a little bit to give you a little bit of slack. And I move this just about a 1/4 inch. And let's see if that works out a little bit better. Get that in there. Yeah, and I can tell already this is going to be a lot better. Get my seat set back down where I have it. My gosh, too much stuff in my pockets. Remount the thumb lever. Feels a lot better already. I'm not going to go crazy tight yet. Go ahead and just snug this up just a tiny bit. And then we're going to go ahead and adjust the slack in here. There we go, a little bit of play. Yep, feels good. Other than that, what is going on? Still not tight enough, man. Jeez almighty. So that's the right amount to get the cable in. You can't have it too tight because then your cable won't go in. But I know we've got a little bit of a play because it's going to cycle the lever in there. So we could take just a tiny bit more out of it and hopefully feel okay with that. Let's give it another try. That's the ticket. Sometimes you gotta do it a few times. Well, if we made it real long and real slack, that's be good, but I really want to get rid of all this play back here. Things annoy me when they rattle and they get caught, and squeaky chains and stuff like that drive me crazy. So it's probably my own shortfall, but it's definitely easy just to come in here and fix stuff, but to try to videotape it and make it right, it seems like everything goes wrong. Much better. Let's snug that up real quick. Now you want to make sure this isn't too tight, because obviously there's a little play there. Run it up to where the play stops. And then adjust that. That's it. That's perfect. So we don't have a ton of barrel. One thing that I do know that can happen, if this barrel adjuster is way out here, my son actually did an endo and hit his knee against it and bent it. We had to replace it. So if it's way out there, obviously if something hits it, it's gonna bend. So if you can keep it tucked in a little tighter, it's going to work a little bit better for you. If you get smacked doing crazy stuff like we like to do, sometimes stuff gets broke, but that'll help keep that just a little bit stronger, being pulled in there a little bit further. Now we'll just button up the rest of the stuff, put this on, and that is it. It's easy. And all the bikes are a little bit different. Probably all split. Put that on, make sure it clips in place. Kind of fighting the cable housing and the, there we go, just make sure it's snapped in there nice and tight. All right, just give it a little snug there. Now the good thing is, I actually can move my bars without actuating this. And that was the whole goal, other than I measured it all and I took way too much off. I took 9 inches off of it. This is a large, and I ended up putting it back on 6 inches, so it's the sweet spot. Anyway, I hope this helps you. Maybe it doesn't. The Park tool worked awesome. I know there's other tools. I try to buy mostly Park stuff. It's good stuff, but I do have some other Spin Doctor stuff, and obviously Feedback Sport Stand I've used for years and years, and this is a new one. I love it. You turn them over, it just seems to work really well for me. So that's the biggest thing. You got to find out what works for you. If it's an Amazon internal router, then use it. But some things I won't skimp on. Some things you can. Anyway, thanks for watching.